The sense of achievement washed over me as I made that final mortgage payment. 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and now this condo was truly mine. Every square foot represented countless overtime shifts and sacrifices. I stood on my balcony, savoring the moment, unaware that my world would soon implode. At our family celebration dinner, my sister-in-law Tara clinked her glass, smiled coldly, and announced, "This beautiful condo is a family asset. Jackson and I are moving in next month." Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe. If you have ever had family members try to take advantage of your success. Trust me, what I did next changed everything. Growing up in Chicago, I learned early that nothing comes easy. My parents worked multiple jobs just to keep our small apartment, and I promised myself I would own my home outright someday. That dream became my obsession after college. While friends enjoyed weekends out and vacation getaways, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously. Weekdays at the marketing firm, evenings waiting tables, and weekend shifts at a local hardware store. Every dollar that did not go to basic necessities went straight into my savings account. For 7 long years I lived like a monk. No vacations, minimal social gatherings, and a studio apartment so small I could touch opposing walls with outstretched arms. My wardrobe consisted of the same 5 outfits rotated weekly. When friends mocked my ancient flip phone, or my refusal to join them for expensive dinners, I simply reminded myself of the goal: freedom through ownership. The search for the perfect property took 18 months. I viewed over 70 condos before finding the one. 2 bedrooms, open concept living area, and a small balcony overlooking the city park. The neighborhood was up and coming with good transit access and growing property values. The asking price stretched my budget to breaking point, but the investment potential made it worthwhile. I can still remember signing that mountain of mortgage papers, committing to 30 years of payments. The loan officer raised his eyebrows when I informed him of my intention to pay it off in 10 years. "Ambitious goal," he commented with a skeptical smile. That skepticism only fueled my determination. My relationship with my younger brother Jackson had always been solid. 4 years my junior, he looked up to me growing up, and I did my best to guide him through life without being overbearing. When he introduced Tara as his girlfriend 6 years ago, I tried to be welcoming despite initial reservations. Something about her calculating gaze and practiced smile never quite sat right with me, but I pushed those feelings aside for his sake. They married after a whirlwind 8-month romance. The wedding was elaborate and expensive, pushing them into debt right from the start. I gave them a generous gift, despite my own financial goals, wanting to support their happiness. In the years that followed, family gatherings subtly changed. Tara gradually positioned herself as the decision-maker, with Jackson becoming increasingly quiet in her presence. I noticed small patterns emerging. Tara commenting on relatives' purchases, asking pointed questions about prices and values. Her eyes narrowing when hearing about promotions or windfalls. The way she would insert herself into financial conversations with unwelcome advice. Each Christmas and Thanksgiving brought more questions about my mortgage progress, thinly veiled as casual interest. Jackson changed too. My once adventurous brother now checked with Tara before committing to simple brotherly activities. Phone calls that once lasted hours dwindled to brief, guarded exchanges. When I expressed concern, he would laugh it off as married life adjustments, but the hollow look in his eyes told a different story. The day I made my final mortgage payment felt surreal. After transferring the funds, I sat in my car outside the bank for 20 minutes, overwhelmed by emotion. That evening, I splurged on an expensive bottle of champagne and called my parents to share the news. Their pride and joy mirrored my own feelings. Then I called Jackson to invite him and Tara to a small celebration dinner at my place that weekend. Planning that celebration brought me genuine joy. I deep cleaned every corner of the condo, hung new artwork I had been saving for this milestone, and planned a menu featuring everyone's favorite dishes. I even created a mock mortgage burning ceremony, printing out a symbolic document to ignite in my fireplace with family surrounding me. The gathering would be intimate. Just my parents, Jackson and Tara, and my closest friend Martin, who had supported me through the entire journey. I wanted to share this achievement with the people who mattered most in the space that represented my greatest accomplishment. The morning of the celebration, I woke early, buzzing with anticipation. I prepared slow-cooked beef brisket, baked fresh sourdough bread, and chilled the champagne. As I arranged fresh flowers on the dining table, I contemplated the next chapter of my life. Perhaps extensive traveling, or investing in a rental property, or maybe even saving for an early retirement. The possibilities seemed endless with the mortgage burden lifted. Little did I know that evening would mark not a beginning but an end. The dinner started beautifully. My mother teared up seeing the renovations I had completed over the years, particularly the kitchen I had designed with elements reminiscent of her own childhood home. Dad clapped me on the shoulder, a gesture that conveyed more pride than words ever could. Martin brought an additional bottle of champagne and a framed photo of us standing outside the building the day I got my keys. Tara arrived wearing an outfit that seemed excessive for a family dinner, diamonds glittering at her ears and throat. Her eyes scanned the condo, immediately lingering on the new furniture and updated appliances. "This place must be worth double what you paid now," she commented before even saying hello. Jackson followed behind her with a forced smile, carrying a small, hastily wrapped gift that I later discovered was a set of coasters from their own kitchen drawer. During appetizers, the conversation flowed naturally among everyone except Tara, who remained unusually quiet, observing rather than participating. When I gave a brief tour of the recent bathroom renovation, she asked pointed questions about contractor costs and property taxes. I answered honestly, attributing my success to diligence and sacrifice rather than any financial wizardry. "Family should always help family," she interjected when my father mentioned how I had managed everything without assistance. The comment hung awkwardly in the air before my mother changed the subject. Jackson shifted uncomfortably beside her, but remained silent. I noticed, but dismissed it too, caught up in celebration to dwell on strange undercurrents. After dinner, before dessert, I conducted the small mortgage burning ceremony. Standing before my fireplace, document in hand, I shared a few words about perseverance and the freedom of debt-free living. As the paper curled and blackened in the flames, genuine applause and congratulations filled the room. Everyone except Tara, who watched the fire with an intensity that should have warned me. We had just finished serving slices of cheesecake when Tara delicately tapped her glass with her spoon. The room quieted as she stood Jackson, looking suddenly pale beside her. "This is such a special evening," she began, her voice carrying a rehearsed quality. "And what perfect timing. As Andre celebrates becoming truly part of the property-owning class, we have our own announcement." She placed her hand on Jackson's shoulder, squeezing slightly too hard. "Family assets are meant to be shared, and blood means looking out for each other. So we are thrilled to announce that Jackson and I will be moving in here within the next 2 weeks." The silence that followed was absolute. I stared at her fork, suspended midway to my mouth, certain I had misheard. My mother glanced between us with confusion building in her expression. Martin straightened in his chair, always sensitive to tension. "We have already given notice at our apartment." Tara continued smoothly into the silence. "Jackson will use the second bedroom as his office, and I will redecorate the living space to accommodate our furniture too." She smiled directly at me. "You should start looking for somewhere else to stay. Nothing too expensive, of course, since you no longer have housing costs." I set my fork down with deliberate care, searching for words. "Tara, this is my home. I just finished paying off my mortgage. I am not looking for roommates, especially not ones who plan to redecorate. Do not be selfish." "Andres," she replied, her smile never wavering. "This location is perfect for both our commutes. And honestly, a single man does not need all this space. Family helps family." I looked to Jackson, expecting him to clarify this absurd joke, but he avoided my gaze. "We thought it made financial sense," he mumbled. "You always taught me to make smart money moves." My father cleared his throat. "I think there has been a misunderstanding. Andres owns this condo outright. It is his property purchased with his money. But we are family. Tara replied, as if this simple fact negated all laws of property ownership. And Jackson is his only brother. Sharing assets is what families do. She turned to my mother. You understand, right? You would want your sons to support each other. My mother, never one for confrontation, looked deeply uncomfortable. I think this conversation should happen another time, she suggested quietly. There is nothing to discuss, I stated firmly. This is my home. I have no plans to leave or to take on housemates. I am sorry if you gave notice on your apartment prematurely, but that was not my decision. Tara's expression cooled. We will discuss this later, when everyone has had time to think rationally, she said, effectively ending the celebration. The remainder of the evening passed in strained conversation and early departures. My parents hugged me tightly before leaving, my father whispering, "Stand firm, son." Martin stayed to help clean up, expressing disbelief at what had transpired. I kept expecting Jackson to call and explain. It was all a misunderstanding, but my phone remained silent that night. The following week brought escalating pressure. Tara called daily with updates on their packing progress and questions about storage space in my condo. She texted pictures of furniture arrangements and color schemes, acting as if my objections had never been voiced. Jackson sent a single message saying we should work something out as brothers, but avoided my calls seeking clarification. Other family members became unwitting participants in the conflict. An aunt called suggesting I help out family in need, having heard from Tara that I had offered housing. A cousin expressed admiration for my generosity in taking in my brother and his wife. The narrative was being rewritten without my participation. 7 days after the dinner, Tara arrived unannounced at my door carrying paint samples and a measuring tape. She brushed past me before I could object, immediately beginning to measure my living room windows for curtains. The movers are scheduled for Saturday, she informed me, while holding fabric swatches against my wall. We will need you completely moved out by Friday evening to allow for a deep clean before our furniture arrives. I am not moving out, I stated firmly. This conversation is over. This is my home, purchased with my money, and I have not agreed to any living arrangement. She continued, measuring, as if I had not spoken. Your office will make a perfect nursery eventually. For now, you can take your desk to wherever you find a new place. She turned to face me directly. Find another place, Andres. We need 3 bedrooms. Nursery, I questioned, momentarily distracted. Are you pregnant? Not yet, she answered, with a calculating smile. But soon. Jackson and I are planning to start trying immediately after the move. Your brother deserves a family, and this neighborhood has excellent schools. Something inside me shifted at that moment. The audacity of planning children in a home that was not hers pushed me past disbelief into cold clarity. Get out, I said quietly. Now, take your paint samples and your plans and leave. This discussion is over. Her expression hardened. Family obligations cannot be dismissed so easily. Jackson has always looked up to you. Do not disappoint him now. She placed the measuring tape on my coffee table with deliberate slowness. We will see you Friday. Have your things packed. After she left, I stood motionless in my living room, trying to process what was happening. The home I had sacrificed so much to secure was being claimed through manipulation and familial pressure. The achievement I had celebrated just days ago now felt hollow and threatened. For the first time since moving in, my condo did not feel like the sanctuary I had created. That night, sleep evaded me entirely. I sat at my kitchen counter with all my mortgage documents, property deed and homeowners, insurance policies spread before me. Though I knew the answer already, I needed to confirm legally what I knew intuitively. The deed listed only my name. Every payment had come from my accounts. There was no co-ownership, no legal claim anyone else could make. Around 3 in the morning, I began researching tenant rights and property law online. I read about adverse possession squatters' rights and family property claims. None applied to my situation. I discovered cases where family members had successfully moved into properties against owners' wishes, creating legal nightmares that took years to resolve. The thought of Tara and Jackson establishing any kind of residency claim sent shivers down my spine. By dawn, I had compiled a digital folder of screenshots, text messages, and notes, documenting every interaction since the dinner announcement. I created a timeline of Tara's escalating claims and Jackson's complicity. The organization of information brought some calm to my churning thoughts, but the betrayal still cut deep. Later that morning, I called Maria, a college friend, who now worked as a real estate attorney. Over coffee at a nearby diner, safely away from my contested home, I explained the situation. Her initial disbelief quickly turned to professional concern. "This is more common than you might think," she explained, reviewing my timeline. "Family members often feel entitled to property based on relationship rather than legal ownership. The dangerous part is if you allow them to establish residency even briefly." "What can I do?" I asked, desperate for guidance. "Document everything which you have already started. Send a formal written notice via certified mail explicitly stating they do not have permission to move in. Change your locks immediately if they have keys. Install security cameras covering entrances. And most importantly, do not leave your property unattended for extended periods until this is resolved." I followed her advice methodically that day. A locksmith replaced all exterior locks and reprogrammed the security system by noon. Wireless cameras were installed covering my front door balcony access and common areas by evening. The formal notice was drafted with Maria's help, printed on legal letterhead, and sent via certified mail to their current address. That evening, I received 3 calls from Jackson, which I allowed to go to voicemail. His messages progressed from confusion to anger to pleading, but notably absent was any acknowledgement that their plan had been inappropriate from the start. Tara sent a text, stating simply, "This is disappointing behavior. We will discuss on Saturday." The next day, I reached out to mutual friends who had known Jackson and Tara throughout their relationship. What I learned was illuminating. Tara had a history of similar behavior with her own family. A cousin's vacation home borrowed indefinitely. An aunt pressured into lending significant money that was never repaid. Each story followed the same pattern. Identify an asset claim entitlement, manipulate through family obligation. My parents called deeply concerned about the rift. Though they fully supported my position, they worried about long-term family harmony. "Stand your ground," my father advised, "but leave room for your brother to find his way back to reason." Saturday morning arrived with grim inevitability. From my window, I watched a rental truck pull into the visitor parking area precisely at 9. Jackson emerged from the passenger side, expression tense. Tara exited the driver's seat, with the confident air of someone who expected no resistance to her plans. They approached with a dolly and several flattened moving boxes. I took a deep breath, centered myself, and prepared for the confrontation I had been dreading. This would be unpleasant but necessary. As they reached my door, I opened it before they could knock or use the old key they might still possess. "Good morning," Tara greeted with forced brightness. "The truck has a time limit, so we should start with the larger furniture. Your bedroom set can go first, since that room needs the most work." Jackson avoided eye contact, focusing instead on assembling a cardboard box. We brought coffee and donuts, he offered, weakly gesturing to a carrier on top of the boxes. Thought we could fuel up before the heavy lifting. I remained in the doorway, blocking entry. In my hand I held copies of my property deed and the formal notice they had received, but apparently ignored. "You are not moving in today, or any day," I stated calmly. Tara laughed, the sound brittle and without humor. "Do not be difficult, Andres. The truck is on the clock." She attempted to step past me into the condo. I did not move. "This is my legal property. I have not granted permission for you to live here, store belongings here, or redecorate. If you attempt to move in against my explicitly stated wishes, it constitutes trespassing." "Stop being ridiculous," she snapped, mask of pleasantness dropping. "Jackson, tell your brother to move aside. We have movers arriving in 20 minutes. My brother finally looked at me, conflict evident in his expression. "Andres, please. We already gave up our apartment. We have nowhere else to go on such short notice." "That was your decision, not mine," I replied, maintaining eye contact with him rather than Tara. I never agreed to this arrangement. Fine, Tara interjected, pulling out her phone. I will call your parents and explain how you are putting your own brother out on the street. I wonder what the extended family will think about your selfishness. It was the moment I had prepared for. I smiled slightly, leaned closer, and whispered, Call whoever you want. I have documented everything from your initial announcement to today. I have consulted with a real estate attorney. I have installed new security showing you attempting forced entry without permission. If you proceed, I will file for a restraining order by Monday morning. I stepped back, maintaining eye contact. Your manipulation stops here. The blood drained from her face as the implications registered. No way, she whispered, then louder. No way, that is not fair. We are family. I could not help the small chuckle that escaped. Oh, fairness was not your concern before, was it? When you announced claims to my property, when you made plans for my office to become a nursery, when you told me to find another place to live in my own home, for the first time, I saw genuine shock rather than calculation in her expression. The reality that her tactics had failed was setting in. Jackson looked between us, confusion giving way to dawning comprehension of how badly their plan had backfired. You planned this, Tara accused voice, shaking with anger. You let us give up our apartment knowing you would refuse us. I told you repeatedly that I was not agreeing to your plan, I corrected. You chose not to listen. That is not my responsibility. Jackson finally found his voice. Tara, he is right. He never agreed to this. We just assumed. He turned to me, genuine regret in his eyes. I am sorry, Andres. This was wrong from the beginning. Tara rounded on him. Do not apologize. He is the one being unreasonable. This family has always shared everything. No, we have not, I stated firmly. We have supported each other emotionally and in emergencies. We have celebrated successes and consoled failures. But we have never claimed ownership of each other's achievements or property. My brother nodded slowly, something shifting in his expression. He is right, Tara. This was your idea, and I went along with it because I always go along with your ideas. But it was wrong. Her face contorted with fury. After everything I have done for you, for this family, this is how you repay me. What exactly have you done for me? I asked quietly. Besides attempt to claim my home, she had no answer for that. Instead, she stormed back to the truck, slamming the door with enough force to echo through the parking lot. Jackson remained the half-assembled box still in his hands. I really am sorry, he said, voice barely audible. I do not know how I let things get this far. I studied my brother, seeing both the boy I grew up with and the man who had nearly participated in taking everything I had worked for. We have a lot to talk about, but not today. She needs you right now, and you have housing issues to solve. He nodded, eyes downcast. Can we talk tomorrow? Just us. Yes, I agreed, but understand this relationship will need rebuilding from the ground up. As he walked away, shoulders slumped in defeat. I felt no victory, only relief and a profound sadness for what had been lost. I closed my door, locked it securely, and for the first time in days, took a full breath in the sanctuary that remained mine. The fallout from that Saturday morning confrontation rippled through our family for months. Jackson and Tara were forced to temporarily move into a month-to-month rental while searching for a new apartment. The financial strain of breaking their previous lease, combined with rush moving costs, created tension that exposed deeper cracks in their relationship. Jackson called the next day, as promised. Over coffee at a neutral location, he offered explanations but not excuses. I stopped standing up to her early in our relationship, he admitted. It seemed easier to go along than face her anger. Before I realized it, that became our pattern for everything. Why my condo? I asked, needing to understand the specific targeting. He looked ashamed. She had been planning it since you mentioned being close to paying off the mortgage. The apartment we were in was always temporary in her mind. Your place represented everything she wanted. location, status, equity. I knew it was wrong, but by the time you made that final payment, I lacked the courage to oppose her. Our conversation that day was the first of many healing discussions. Jackson began therapy to understand his role in the situation and how he had abandoned his own agency in the relationship. We established new boundaries, rebuilding trust gradually through consistent respect and honesty. Tara remained unrepentant. When she realized the family was not rallying to her defense, she attempted damage control by spinning a narrative of misunderstanding. When that failed, she retreated into icy formality at necessary family gatherings. Our direct interactions became minimal, which brought unexpected peace. My parents supported my decision fully, though they grieved the family discord. "You worked hard for what you have," my mother reminded me during a quiet dinner. "Never feel guilty for protecting it." The experience prompted me to take additional legal precautions. I created a comprehensive will with Maria's guidance, explicitly outlining asset distribution and preventing future claims. I documented the value of major purchases and investments, creating clear ownership records that could withstand scrutiny. More profoundly, the incident transformed my approach to relationships. I became more attuned to early warning signs of entitlement and boundary violations. I observed patterns of giving and taking in friendships, family connections, and romantic relationships. The experience had honed my ability to recognize when generosity was appreciated versus expected. Jackson and Tara separated 8 months later. He called me the evening he moved into his own apartment, voice lighter than I had heard in years. "I should have listened to my instincts," he said, "both about her and about your home. I am sorry it took almost losing my brother to see clearly. My condo remained my sanctuary, but I viewed it differently now. Beyond representing financial freedom, it symbolized my willingness to protect what mattered. The space evolved as I did, reflecting growth rather than just achievement. I hosted dinners for friends who celebrated my successes without expecting to claim them. I created a guest room that welcomed visitors without surrendering ownership. 2 years after the confrontation, I helped Jackson with the down payment for his own modest condo across town. The loan came with clear terms and a repayment schedule we both respected. Watching him receive his keys brought back memories of my own first day of homeownership, but his journey would be different, informed by hard-earned wisdom. Through this experience, I learned that true family supports your growth without demanding ownership of the fruits. Real love celebrates achievements without calculating personal benefit. Authentic relationships respect boundaries as expressions of health, not obstacles to overcome. The most valuable lesson was understanding that standing firm for yourself does not make you selfish. It creates the foundation from which genuine generosity can flow. By protecting what I had earned, I preserved my ability to share on my own terms from abundance rather than obligation or fear. Today, my home remains mine, a testament to both hard work and the courage to defend its rewards. The people who share my space now do so with respect and gratitude, never entitlement. And when family or friends achieve their own milestones, I celebrate wholeheartedly, without mental calculations of how their success might benefit me. Have you ever had to stand up to entitled family members? What boundaries have you created to protect what matters to you? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of people committed to healthy relationships built on respect rather than obligation. Share this video with someone who might need encouragement to stand their ground. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, protecting what you have earned is not selfish. It is necessary for genuine generosity to thrive.